Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to talk about how to explore and enter locations in Arydia, the paths we dare tread. So at this point we have set up our character. That stuff is kind of down here off screen, and we first technically are finishing up with the card, the initial event card that we were told. So this is telling us that each player chooses a path, goes through those steps, and then once we have finished, we're going to flip this over. So there's some flavor text here. We'll go ahead and read that now. Each year, emissaries are dispatched to a chosen region, distributing wooden coins to the local inhabitants. These coins, called squills, hold no value, but they are the only way for the banished to receive a pardon. Exiles must prove their worth. Collect the most squills by harvest, and you can return home. You won't be alone in the hunt. Other exiles will be competing for pardons as well. The laws stipulate that exiles may band together in parties no larger than 4 members, pooling resources to gain a group pardon. You think it is time to size up the competition and maybe find some allies. So it says flip hex, and so it's anytime it says hex, it's referring to these hex shapes because all the maps are square or rectangular, but they're also labeled big, medium, small, and long. So hex E2 and place the party token on it, and then exile this card. So first of all, let's bring out this. This is our card tray here. You can see it's got the event stuff in it, and at the very back here is our banished cards. So we're going to stick that right here, and it said to flip hex E2. All right, so we're going to take hex E2 here. This is one of the best parts of the game, and you're just going to push on the right side. It pops that one open since it's a triple layer board, and here we go. We're going to take our little marker here and place it right there. So you can see that there are several things on this hex here. There's just a picture, there's a name. There is these 3 tiny little pictures, so 2 flowers and this kind of waypoint token. When you are traveling from hex to hex, it's kind of on the larger map, you are going to be choosing the kind of travel actions based on these icons here. So you can see that there's a river right here, and if you look more at the larger picture here, you can see that we're on the coast. All right, so this guy way down here is in the water. It's going to be some kind of water environment, but we're on the coast here, so we actually aren't going to be able to travel in this direction, and there's a fence here. So to get to this peninsula here, we're going to have to go up and over, most likely. Maybe even down and around and across, who knows? We're not there yet, but there's also three other things here: Big Zero, Guild, and POI 1. So that's point of interest 1. Big Zero references the first map sheet we're going to take a look at, and this just in general location is a guild location. So that's important because guild locations is where we're going to be able to do our upgrading and things like that. So we are going to set this off to the side. We keep our token there just to remind us where we are exactly. Now, if you were cleaning up the game, you would flip back over any tokens that you're not on and leaving this one point up. That means when you come back to the game, you're going to put your marker there, and you're going to have to then explore out from there again. So the first thing we're going to do is bring out our big map set here, and it's going to it told us to find Big Zero. Now, interacting with that, it was a free action. There's no like actions we need to keep track of when we're in adventure mode, which is what we're in right now. And these are tight, but that's good because that means they're not going to float around. All right, so we pull out Big Zero. We can see a picture of what this area might look like more zoomed in. We see exiles camp up here. We also see this little 1 up here. If you so choose to bring up the soundtrack, which can be found on Far Off Games website, this would tell you play track 1, and that's going to give you the ambiance music for a location like this. But otherwise, we're going to read the rules text here for right now, it's just flavor text, but other map tiles may have rules that you definitely want to pay attention to this box before flipping it over. So this reads, threadbare tents stand here, flaps swaying lightly in the breeze. As you draw near, the din of the camp washes over you. Voices buzz in excitement, swords clang in practice, and as you approach, a mustached man beckons you. So we're going to flip this over here, and we see several things. The first thing you always want to look for is any purple things like this, and you want to drop a event token on it like that. This means that we haven't taken care of that event, and you're not able to travel off of this map tile until all events and foes, which there aren't any right now, have been taken care of. Otherwise, we look and see here that we are coming from hex E2, and so we need to start anywhere near these locations here. Now there are a few things that might be a little hard to see, but like these lines right here have black going through them, which means we can't go that way. We have to walk around and enter in the tent this way. Same thing with right here, we can enter in coming in this direction. But otherwise, since we're in adventure mode, it's very much free for all. So we can kind of move around as we so please. We can just kind of walk up to somebody. And so this is the mustached man here that beckoned us over. So we're gonna walk up to NPC 0 here. Other people could walk up next to us. So if they wanted to take part in the conversation, they could before I draw this card. Otherwise, you know, it's just going to be me. And since I'm playing solo, it is going to be me. So we're going to pull out our deck of cards here. I'm going to find NPC 0, who's going to be at the front. And we're going to read his card. So this says, Guild Leader Thades. You maybe want to show the picture around if you're playing with other people. He's a human man. His demeanor is gruff. His actions, he is rubbing his hands. So they're giving these keywords to you so that if you are playing with other people, you can truly act it out. They are wanting you to play this like a true role-playing game where you are taking on the role of the guild leader Thades. He's a human man. He's a little gruff. Maybe he's, you know, sitting there, so you'd be sitting there rubbing your hands, and you would then read this flavor text here. A weather-beaten man stands here watching exiles practice. He turns to you as you approach. Then here in this is the acting out part that you would want to do. Now, if you're playing solo again like me, you're just going to be reading it to yourself, so do as you please, but we'll give it a go here. After all that training, the day has arrived. Time to get out there and do the guild proud. If you want a little warm-up before you go hunting squills, you can fight the practice dummy one more time. Let me know when you're ready to leave. Now, at this point, the other characters or you can ask the guild leader questions. Now, if you are playing true role player style where you're playing with multiple players and you're reading this to someone, you would simply read this and then let them ask away. If they don't give you something that roughly aligns with one of these topics here, then you would come down here to, you would smooth out your mustache and say, that seems to fall outside my recollection. That's triggering them to be like, maybe I should pick a different keyword here from his stuff. If not, you could simply beckon them onto one of these. Either way, if they say guild, tell me about this guild, you would flip this over and then you would read the guild. The guild was established as a means for exiles to prove their value in order that they might earn a pardon and return home. To this end, guild members work hard for the locals who give them squills. Now you could, just keep flipping back over because you come down here and it says, are you ready to leave? Yes. You're going to draw event 1. No, you're going to flip the card back over. If you're playing solo and you realize this at that point, you could simply keep reading here. So, squills are small wooden coins given to exiles in exchange for help. Your goal is to collect the most squills by harvest in order to receive a pardon. This is very reminiscent of RPG style video games where you're always just kind of selecting the next thing as you're conversing with somebody. I was working on a more powerful dummy, one that would really challenge you, but it's gone missing. Anyway, the old one still works fine. When you're ready to head up to the field and I'll get you going. So at this point, we want to venture off like Thales is telling us, but we can't do that. There is a event token here that we need to take care of. We also want to try out the practice dummy. So he told us that that would be up the hill a ways. So let's take care of this here and see. So since we're in adventure mode, we just can walk over here. We don't need to spend movement points or take another turn or draw anything else. We'll remove this, we'll put it back into the supply, and here we see EVT 13. So this is telling us to find event 13. So again, we're coming back to our box here and staying in the active section, we will find event 13. Maybe event 13. All right. So here we have around the camp. So I asked him where he got the fish. The small crowd erupts with laughter as you draw near. A tall man with long blonde hair is at the center of attention. He eyes you cautiously as you approach. It's good to see new faces. Where have you been exiled from? And so it's asking us, did we come from the mountains, the forest, the city, or the desert? And depending on your character here, you would answer. Now, the Lunari came from the mountains, I believe, or maybe it was the forest. It says on your card, but it doesn't really matter. Once you flip it over, once you give an answer, any answer, he would respond, "Ah, yes, I should have guessed by the smell." More laughter. The man slaps his companion on the back, and they saunter off, chortling. The crowd begins to disperse. Exiles mill about, tightening packs, sharpening swords, and preparing for the day ahead. Now, it's important that this one says down here, gain +1, and it looks like a little candy symbol. That's your XP, and that's very important. And then we're going to exile this card. So, if you remember back here on our punch boards, we had these XP tokens here, and so we would definitely want to punch one out. Oops. No, dropped it. And looking at our player board here, this little pink spot is for our XP. So these are double-sided, so 1 to 3, and you just pop it in there. Again, this is so when you store it away, we don't lose track of this XP token. If you earn, say, another 1, you would put it there. If you earn another 1, you would flip this over in 3 and remove the 1. So you just keep track of your total XP. So we've earned an XP for dealing with that jerk. And so we are good to go. So now at this point, we remember that there is a practice dummy up north of the camp. So we want to travel. Now we could walk over here and talk to NPC 161, but we're not going to do that. We just want to get to practicing, possibly get on with our adventure. So we're going to walk up here, place ourselves there. And at this point, we would also want, does anybody else want to join us? We don't know quite what's going to be on this next card. So if anybody wants to be able to be there in case we get jumped or something like that, or they could stay put. It's very open-ended, especially when you're on adventure mode. So since we're playing solo, we are just here by ourselves. So it tells us to find a medium 0. So we're going to come to our medium ones. We're going to pull this out and we're going to flip this over here. So we're going to read this first. Remember, it says, you see a small clearing where the ground has been well worked by exiles practicing all forms of combat. All right, you're next. You walk over and take your place. Thades starts the practice dummy. It wheels out from around the pond and it begins to wobble towards you. Start this combat on any space adjacent to starting point X. So we're now in combat. All right, and the important thing here is that we know that, it's telling us here start combat, but also we have a foe on the board. So anytime there is a foe present, you're going to take your thing and flip it over to combat. That's going to tell anybody else who is lingering back here in town, hey, get the heck up here. We have somebody to deal with. You can see that there is some linkage here. So this is where the things line up. There's also a spot over here where you could make it going up steps into SML 0. But again, we can't go there because we can't move off of this location until we have dealt with foe 0. So we would put this right here, we would line it up. Remember, we were right there. And then it tells us to hop up here and start anywhere adjacent to that X. All right, at this point we have entered combat. We're gonna put that tutorial in its own separate video. So that's gonna do it for our exploration and entering locations portion of the video, kind of the adventure mode portion of the game. Again, very free form, meant to do a lot of role playing, acting out, fun stuff like that. Up next, we'll talk about combat. If you've enjoyed this series of videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.